episode 80 of One Man's Opinion, where I review professional theater across New York and Connecticut. Today I am reviewing Goodspeed Musical's production of the classic John Kander and Fred Ebb musical, Cabaret, directed by James Vasquez, running through July 6th at the Goodspeed Opera House at 6 Main Street, East Haddam, Connecticut. Cabaret is based on Christopher Isherwood's Berlin stories, mostly the story Goodbye to Berlin, which was first adapted into the play and movie I Am a Camera, and then further adapted into Cabaret, which has had multiple Broadway productions and a film adaptation with Liza Minnelli. It tells the story of author Clifford Bradshaw, played by Bruce Landry, an American who has come to Berlin on the eve of 1930. He is looking for inspiration for his next novel and is fascinated with Germany's current socio-political evolution, or revolution for that matter, even going so far as to start reading Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf. But Cliff becomes quickly distracted by the more decadent offerings that Berlin has to offer, and quickly involves himself with Kit's Cat Club cabaret singer Sally Bowles, played by Aline Mayagosha. As Cliff says at the end of the show, he was fast asleep to what's going on around him as support for the Nazi regime grows. The brilliance of Cabaret is its ability to, when done right, seduce the audience into the decadence with Cliff. Though he never directly interacts with Cliff and only is in the most ancillary of moments with Sally, the MC, played by Jelani Remy, is the most important role in the show. He is a character who taps into the audience's id and dictates how he expects them to feel and reflect the feelings of Cliff as the show progresses through the cabaret's numbers that occur between scenes. As the show progresses and the audience delves deeper into the debauchery of lust, greed, power, and prejudice, we should flow through the music with Cliff's increasing discomfort and then disgust and alarm at the world around him. Cabaret is probably the musical I've seen most since I started reviewing theater in late 2016, having seen it 3 times now, and Goodspeed's production is definitely the best of the 3, all 3 having been here in Connecticut, but there are a couple of big misses in what is an overall good production. But let's start with the good. This is by far the best Cliff and Sally duo I've seen since the '98 revival on Broadway. Mayagosha is an incredible Sally Bowles with blissful sexuality coupled with a callous apathy toward the world and the politics around it. I think it was a strong choice by her and Vasquez to venture away from the harsher vocals that have become the norm in productions of late since Natasha Richardson's trend-setting performance in the '98 revival. Mayagosha sings with more of a polished brassy tone which fills the theater wonderfully. Landry is the first Cliff I've seen that I think really gets the character's duel with his sexuality. Yes, in the script, there's a little resistance at first with Bobby, but he quickly gives in because Cliff is directly inspired by Christopher Isherwood, who was a gay man. Vasquez doesn't shy away from Cliff's homosexual tendencies, even though he is living and having sex with Sally as well. It's an observant touch that I really enjoyed. For once, the Cliff and Sally were good enough that they weren't overshadowed by the charming yet tragic love story between Fräulein Schneider, played by Jennifer Smith, and Herr Schultz, played by Kevin Ligon. Smith and Ligon are both wonderful, and I'm not detracting their performances in any way. It's more of how delighted I was to have a well-developed Cliff and Sally relationship. I like also that Vasquez, along with costume designer Lex Liang, and scenic designer Michael Schweikardt, decided to open a Kit Kat Club with a little more color than most productions over the past 24 years or so. During Willkommen, the dancers and the MC are brightly dressed in colorful pastel lingerie, which makes sense. The club should be at first appealing to Cliff, and in turn the audience. and if the musical numbers are supposed to be representations of his thoughts, observations, and subconscious, then the transition from color to faded grays and blacks and whites is an excellent representation of his journey. I think if that is the intention, though, that it happens a touch too fast, as by the time we get to Mein Herr, color has been erased from the Kit Kat Club. It could have a slightly longer journey. A great addition is the reproduction of Bob Fosse's original choreography of the number Mein Herr under the supervision of choreographer Lainie Sakakura, whose own choreography the rest of the show is delightfully jazzy, moody, and sensuous. I have two major missteps with Cabaret. One is the drop at the top of the show with Kit Kat Club emblazoned across it with a gold-trimmed circle cut out near the center. When I first looked at it before I even sat down, I had visions of Kermit the Frog popping his head out, introducing the classic Muppet Show. Not what you want going through your head for such a heavily themed musical. Second issue is the number If You Could See Her. The creative team decided to replace the gorilla suit and have the woman that the MC performs the number with be a rag doll instead. It completely undercuts the scathing anti-Semitism that is being addressed in the number. For me, anyways. The intention of the number has always been to address the audience's complicity by having us laugh at the complete absurdity of a person having a relationship with a gorilla and then say the gorilla is a Jew as the song's punchline. That number is supposed to be a gut punch to the audience's senses, but this version feels like a wink and slap of the wrist. I had a number of theories as to why director Vasquez chose to go this route, but instead of listing off hypotheses, I chose to ask Goodspeed, and Vasquez replied with this. This number was a question for us before casting had even been completed. We talked through every number in great detail, what the story and impact were at the time it originated, as well as what we felt the story and impact might be today. If You Could See Her shows humans in a way that, while historically appropriate, felt repetitive and unnecessary right now. We researched multiple paths to tell and honor the story of this number, its history, and the intent of our production. We actually had a couple of ideas for this number, but wanted to, in part, build it with the cast we assembled. Both conversations about the lack of voice power then and now, and actors' special skills played a big part in the final discovery of the number. It's not the best answer to my inquiry, but it's better than where my thoughts went, so I'll accept it, even though I still disagree with the choice. What does work, though, is Remy's performance of I Don't Care Much, the MC's last song of the show, which feels like he was waiting to perform this song the whole show, and once he does, he nails it. It's a great performance. I do wish the sound was better, particularly for Remy, who had volume issues. Many of his jokes as the MC fell a bit flat because many of his stage-whispered punchlines were drowned out by the orchestra. Whatever flaws there are in Goodspeed's production of Cabaret, it's still overall excellent. It will always be a sobering reminder that willful ignorance and apathy leads to destruction. And if we want to avoid future fascist uprisings in our world, we can't let ourselves be swept away in the blissful, trivial, momentary satisfactions of life. But I am only one man's opinion, so please leave yours in the comments below. If you're interested in seeing Cabaret, I'll leave a link in the description. You can support my channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Turn on your notifications to be alerted for future reviews. My next review will be Long Wharf Theater's production of Madhuri Shekhar's Queen. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.